2 months ago, I couldn't sleep one night, so I was listening to my music, and I was just skipping song after song. None of it was really good, and I wasn't really into any of it. And that got me thinking, should I ask my friends for a recommendation? I mean, would they even give me good recommendations? What is a good recommendation? Is there a way to reliably get good recommendations? We live in a day and age where music is so prevalent. I can go on my phone right now and within a few clicks, I can be listening to something I've never heard once in my entire life. When 10 years ago, you would have had to download it off the internet, and 10 years before that, you would have had to go and buy it at a store. Music is always evolving and changing with the times. So how come people always say things like, there's no good music today, or music today isn't good? According to Spotify, there's 100 million songs on their platform, and people can't find one in the 2020s or the 2010s that they actually like. That led me to my question, which I decided to answer with an experiment. How can I determine who is going to give me a recommendation that I like? In order to successfully enact this experiment, I decided, and to successfully explain it, I decided to split this video up into 4 parts. So that was just the introduction. Part 1, assembling the experiment. This was probably the hardest step because this step involved a lot of thinking, and I haven't really ever seen anybody do this, so uncharted waters. I texted about 40-ish people. Not all responded, however. They left me on red. Asked them all for recommendations. Some people were super eager. Some people jumped at the opportunity and were spamming me, right? And then other people I had to convince. Average person recommended me 40 songs and 2 artists. And I had to have a certain method about it, because some people just told me the artist name, like Phoebe Bridgers or TV Girl or Radiohead, and they didn't tell me the exact album or song. So if somebody just told me an artist, I played the artist's most popular album, and if they just told me an album, I just listened to the album. If they told me a song, I just listened to the song. Pretty self-explanatory. Anyways, after adding up all of the recommendations into one giant playlist, I had about 1,500 songs. And Spotify literally stopped calculating it and just capped out the playlist at 25 hours. It was not 25 hours. The playlist was about a week long. So it was a lot. 7 straight days of music. Part 2, the process of listening. So, getting through the week-long playlist took me about a month and a half. And mind you, I was completely listening. I wasn't just doing something else. I wasn't I would either walk, do chores, or do homework. I tried to dedicate as much attention as possible to the songs. I didn't want to accidentally ignore something that I actually would have liked because I was stressing out about something else. So it was a lot. I liked about 14% of the playlist, which is around 200 songs actually. I know 14% doesn't sound like a lot, but it was 200 songs, which I think was a lot. And of all of my recommendations, some of them were good, some of them I really liked, and some of them I absolutely despised. The process of listening wasn't that hard. However, people during this time, all of the people I texted started connecting the dots, and a few of them confronted me about it, and they're like, "Hey, why'd you ask me for music recommendations out of the blue?" And I did eventually tell everybody what I was doing, and I got a few more recommendations. However, I did not take these recommendations because I don't want to have extra variables, number one. And something that can affect a lot of people's music recommendations in public, like when recommending in front of other people, is the fear of missing out or the fear of not being cool, right? So I did listen to all of these suggestions. However, I only accounted one of them in the main total, which was this one album that this one girl, I knew she was a fan of the artist beforehand, and she just forgot to respond to my message, so I let that one slide. Part 3. Results and the psychology of music taste. So, after listening to everything, I ranked it, all of it. I ranked every single artist / song / album. And people were starting to ask me like how I felt about their music taste and how I felt about what they recommended me, and I told them I wasn't going to tell them until this video came out. So thanks for the recommendations. Part 3. Results and the psychology of music taste. So part of answering my original question of how can I determine who is going to give me good music recommendations is determining the who part. Who is going to have good music taste or music taste similar to mine? This question was complicated. There are so many factors that can affect somebody's music taste, and some of these factors are really hard to measure or to ethically get data about, and I don't want to go ask people really sensitive questions because I want a few answers. Factors I did not touch like at all when accounting all of this was age, because basically everybody I asked was in the same age group, so I wasn't really worried about that because it wasn't like I was asking people in their 70s and then people who were like 8. I was asking people who were in a similar age group. I didn't account cultural background, social class or income, or mental health. These are just sensitive subjects, and it's hard to quantify into numbers or into data, into like large data sets, because lots of people's situations are different, and I didn't want to put these in. One thing I did count, one factor I did take into account for somebody's music taste is their personality. So 16 personalities, like .com, the website that has like the free personality test that assigns you a 5-letter personality, right? I sent that out to everybody. Not everybody answered me back again, so it was a smaller data set, but I did get a large amount of answers. And however, I do want to keep in mind that the 16 personalities test is not that accurate of a personality test, considering I took it once and then I took it another time, like back to back, and I got different results. I don't think I changed within the span of 2 minutes, so do keep that in mind when I talk about the results from these personality tests. So on my ranking, I made a tier list. Extroverted people tended to rank a lot lower, like in F, D, or C tier. Introverted people were 3 times as likely to end up in S, A, or B tier, which I thought was interesting, considering I am an extrovert. So the reason why I think introverted people ranked much higher is that introverted people might have more time in their lives dedicated to being alone and listening to music, or just being alone in general and wanting music on in the background, which means they're going to be listening to music a higher percentage of the time than extroverted people. Another factor that can affect music taste is intelligence level. According to a Christian teenagers in 2019, they found a connection between levels of intelligence and people who listen to classical music. I did my own research, and I don't think That's correct. So, people who listen to classical music are more likely to be people who play one of the instruments in said classical music, or who just know how to play classical music in general. And people who have access to an instrument that is included in classical music are most likely going to have access to higher education opportunities. Instruments are really, really expensive. And we have to remember correlation versus causation. Just because there's correlation does not equal causation. Intelligence levels between average people and people who play an instrument are about the same difference as people who don't listen to classical music and people who do. Alright, now it's time to talk about my personal opinion. Controversial, I know. This is my personal opinion, okay? Please do not come for me if I ranked your music low and I didn't like it. I know I have one pick on here. That's gonna make somebody really mad. Alright. Hello and welcome to voiceover mode. This is my official tier list of all of the recommendations I got. Some of the images are memes. I got all of these off Pinterest, so some of them are memes because I thought they were funnier. Anyways, starting off with my rankings of what's in S tier. The number one spot went to this one artist I had literally never heard of before this, named Yonkagore. I was really not expecting this this one song in particular called Fallacy that I really, really enjoyed. And some of the other artists in S tier include TV Girl, Tatsuya Kitsunani, I'm not sure, The Weeknd, Chappell Rowan, Jack Stauber, Fleetwood Mac, which I had heard a lot about and I had never listened to, along with 2014 Forest Hill Drive, Thriller by Michael Jackson, and a Britney Spears album. In A tier, I have Radiohead, Sublime, Tate McRae, Yacht Club, and some other artists. These were good. I really liked these. Thank you for the people who recommended those to me. Then in B tier, coincidentally enough, is where all of the K-pop music I got recommended went. I don't know if that's a coincidence. I don't know. I also put Bella Poarch and some of the rock music I got recommended, along with Phoebe Bridgers. Phoebe Bridgers was the most recommended artist. I had 3 people recommend me Phoebe Bridgers music. So I ended up listening to a lot of Phoebe Bridgers, and she's okay, honestly. Next up in C tier, I have Mac DeMarco, some more rock music, Gracie Abrams and Tally Hall, along with Alex G. I did put the Beatles in C tier. They're not bad. I just, compared to the rest of the stuff on the list, I liked other things more. And the Beatles are unique because they were the first to do a ton of different stuff that now everybody does all the time. So I understand why a lot of modern music sounds similar, but it just doesn't compare. In D tier, I put a few other pop artists and rappers, along with a little bit more rock. And then F tier, which I think is the most interesting tier, has the entire Frozen 1 and 2 soundtrack, along with the entire Genshin Impact soundtrack. In defense of the person who recommended me the entire Genshin Impact soundtrack, they didn't think I was actually going to listen to all of it. It's 15 hours long if you listen to the entire Genshin Impact soundtrack, which I did. I'm just gonna say everything that's in F tier, I just did not like at all. And I couldn't find any redeeming qualities because either it was too long, too cringe, or I just didn't like it at all. So, after listening to all of that and doing all of that research, I have come to my final conclusions. And my final conclusion may seem cheesy, but it's the truth, is what I've found. You never really know who is going to give you good recommendations. Because music taste is completely unique for literally everybody. I could put two people in the exact same situation, like growing up and being around certain types of music or whatever, and they could still grow up to have completely different music tastes. Our music tastes are as just unique as us. For the same reason personality tests don't really work, I don't think a music personality test would really work either, just because music taste is so unique to everybody. Anyways, if you've made it this far, that must mean that I really intrigued you. So I'm probably going to make more stuff like this, so you should subscribe to me, and you should also like this video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye!